conversation short.
This meeting is being recorded.
We have
this meeting is
potentially a
being
long one, so let's get
transcribed.
going. Call to order. We have agenda in front of us to approve. I will hear a motion if someone has one, please.
I move that we approve the agenda for tonight.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we have 2 minutes to approve, one from our last regular meeting and one from our special meeting where we had our work session on historic guidelines revisions. So first, approval of the minutes from September 5th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. None opposed. Approval of the minutes from the special meeting.
So moved.
Second it.
All in favor? All right. We need to discuss a date and time for the December 4th, 2023 meeting. Is that the parade?
Yes, and the Christmas parade is always the first Monday of December. So we can either, we've moved it to noon before, or we could start it earlier, like at 4, maybe 10 or 5, whatever you guys think. I think noon probably will work best if you guys are open.
For me, not 4 o'clock.
Either one's fine with me.
Why don't we do noon?
Okay.
Just, since it's more convenient with you. Anybody got a conflict? You're kind of important to this process.
All right.
Can we get a motion for to hold it at noon?
I move that we hold the December 4 meeting at noon.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you all.
I'll just call in. Okay, great.
I forgot about you.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Now I feel selfish.
Yeah.
No, you're running the show.
All right, we had 2 administrative approvals. Oh, staff report. Is there anything from staff?
No.
Staff report? Okay. We had 2 administrative approvals. Does anybody want to discuss those 2 administrative approvals? Nope. Okay, first case, number 439, requested by Jonathan Maddox. Renovations to exterior structure for property located at 201 North Lamar Boulevard.
I'm going to share my CT. So the case before us is for 201 North Lamar Boulevard. This building is well familiar to us because it's on the square, but also several of you were sitting on the commission when a balcony was added in January of 2020 to the front of the building. The building is listed as non-contributing in the Courthouse Square District. And the application before us is to stucco the rear wall that you're seeing here in this photo. As you can see, the paint's flaking off, and if you zoom in or if you've had a chance to walk by, the masonry itself is flaking, probably due to damage being sealed in by the paint for so many years. This isn't a treatment that we would recommend for all buildings in the Courthouse Square District, but with the way that the brick is looking currently, it might be, and I believe it's the way the applicant wants to proceed with making sure that that rear wall stays as structurally sound as possible. So staff is recommending approval of this application for this particular building in this instance. And Jonathan, if you want to come up, you're welcome to.
I would also just say too that the owner is conscious of how the building looks and wants to improve it. So in addition to stuccoing it, the other things that we'll be doing are getting rid of all of the 50, 60 years of wiring that's on the back of the building from Western Bell and everybody since, as well as changing out that plywood in the opening on the second floor, which at some point probably will be an exit to that second floor space whenever that's renovated at some point in the future. But all of this, in addition to just fixing a problem with the flaking brick, is also just to improve the overall appearance of the back of the building.
All right, thank you. Any discussion from commissioners?
Move we approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I do just want to chime in. This is an easy approval, I think, for all of us. But to make sure we're not setting a precedent, this brick has been painted, a new treatment to historic brick. let's not see people coming in with historic brick and wanting to stucco over it. This is a case that is pretty easy for us to approve because of the condition. It's been painted, it's deteriorated because of the paint. It needs to be stuccoed.
It might also help to call it block, which it really,
Sure.
it's a large masonry unit. It's not some of the other nice brick we do have around the square, for that caveat.
Yep. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Nope. Let's have a vote. All in favor? Aye. None opposed. Motion passes. Case 440, also by Jonathan, to install new signage and window decals for property located at 425 South Lamar.
Hi. So the applicant in this case is Jonathan, but it's on behalf of the Oliver Group. It's part of the renovation and rebranding of the old Chancellor's House. And so part of that, they're asking for 2 new signs. The first proposed sign will be composed of 6 aluminum marquee-style letters to spell out Oliver. The individual letters measure 16 inches tall, and the total length is 48 inches for the sign. The applicant intends to attach the letters to 3 matte black tubes that will be installed in the front entrance above the recently approved trellis. Matte black will also be used for the letters that compose the sign, and there'll be individual bulb lights. It'll be similar to like tangos or something like you'd see at the Lyric. The second requested sign is a traditional painted sign. It's a hanging sign, and it's to indicate the entrance for the restaurant. So that will project off the front facade. It'll be in script, Kingswood Restaurant Patio and Bar, painted in simple script on a wooden sign measuring 18 inches by 30 inches. And they've given a couple of different options for colorways that you would take a look at. The applicant, let's see, I've lost my place. The commission examined 6 options in colorways, and they're all in muted tones, which are appropriate for the district. Both lettering and range of color options of the proposed hanging signs are appropriate for the district as they meet the design guidelines recommendation of simple, straightforward lettering and muted colors, keeping with softening tones of the historical district. So if this sign had been presented on its own, it would have been approved administratively. So for the first sign, the lit sign, the guideline addresses lit signage by noting although most businesses function without lighted signs, some depend on evening traffic, and those are restaurants and a hotel. You would see a reason that would be appropriate. Though channel lettering is discouraged by the design guidelines, the commission may find the use of individual bulb lights evoke a quality more appropriate for a historic district than a suburban style channel lettering like you'd see maybe on Jackson Avenue. The commission has approved lighted signs for several non-contributing buildings in the Courthouse district. The marking lettering of the proposed Oliver sign appears similar in style for signage of both Tango and the Lyric, which are also approved by the commission as well. So staff recommends the approval for the painted hanging blade sign. And if the commission finds the use of bulb lit channel lettering appropriate for the proposed hotel sign, then staff recommends approval of the COA.
Thank you. Jonathan, you feel like you need to add anything? Please do.
One point of clarification, and it may have just been a misspeak, the actual letters are kind of a rust color that's very similar in color to the brick on those black bars. Do you have those images of the mock-up? It's not installed. We have some photographs of this being dry fit so we could kind of get the scale right. In contrast to some of the other examples which have been approved, the letters here are pretty small. And we don't intend for the lighting to be very bright. It's just a way to kind of help set the entrance apart in this building, which what really looks like the entrance, it goes into a fire stair. So
Just for reference, I look back at the old report for Tangos, and those letters are 36 inches high. So
and these are 16 inches high. So it's considerably different in scale, although obviously conceptually similar. So it's pretty small. The back of the letters is just solid black, I think. And there may be a picture. There were a few pictures of this. So. This was never attached. It's just sitting there in place if you zoom in.
There's the back.
Yeah.
We need to get code enforcement over there.
It didn't even have hot glue. I mean, it's,
You know how fast bird travels on the square?
yeah, so it's pretty small.
All right, thank you. Discussion among the commissioners?
Is the sign Oliver above the entrance to the hotel, or is it?
Yeah, it is leading you to the entrance to the hotel.
But
Yes.
isn't that the entrance to the restaurant too?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
We're trying to reconfigure that.
Makes a lot more sense.
And the Kingswood sign goes just to the left of this sign on the corner of the building. I can't see where I can't see where you're pointing. Yeah, it's right, sort of right above that light fixture. Actually, Lee, you'll go to the restaurant and the hotel through the same entrance,
Okay.
which is here.
I have one more question. Did we approve the trellis?
I'm sorry.
Administratively,
We approved it administratively.
it's well, it's not a contributing building, and the trellis, we felt like it's removable. It's not, it's uses the building as a raise, but it's not attached. Can easily.
Right.
And I believe it's gonna be planted.
It has vines growing on it already.
I think that big structure should have been brought to our committee. It's large. And I don't know really what y'all approve and what we're supposed to approve, but that's something that we should discuss later.
Yeah,
I thought it was just signs, but
Oh, there's a
Well, this
whole.
case is just for the signs.
Well, no, she's asking,
This is not administrative approvals. When we added administrative approvals to the ordinance, there's a whole list of things, including additions to buildings. We were sort of in a tough position here because they began installing the trellis without approval, and we wanted to make it conforming. But it's something that I believe that the commission would have approved anyway. But now I'm hearing that perhaps we should come to you guys first, and I'll note that for the future, that maybe a bigger structure like that will come to the commission.
in my
Yeah, it's-
opinion, if it's that large, yes, we should have.
But it is allowed by ordinance for staff to approve minor additions, and we believe it fell in that category. But I understand what you're saying.
So it's sort of a landscaping element in the vein of fencing and that sort of thing. And it is removable. It is attached to the building only by a couple of braces to keep it steady, but it's not really part of the building.
Well, in the past, we've done landscaping as well.
and fencing.
And a lot of what we vote on is removable.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing is a light admonishment that probably it should have been, and I would agree. Okay, noted.
Could you send me a copy of those descriptions of what you're responsible for?
It's in the ordinance, I'm happy to send it to you.
All right, any other discussion on signage? I personally feel that it's appropriate, it's small in scale, it's lit, but it's interesting, that marquee look. It's on a new element, on a new building. My opinion is both are approvable. And as far as colors, colors are up to, I think, the owner and you all, what you want to do, in my opinion. Any other discussion? All right, is there a motion?
I move that we approve COA 437. Is that it? 438.
I'll second it.
This is 440, case 440.
440. Sorry.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. None opposed, and it passes.
Y'all may mean to, there's somebody on hold up here. Is that, y'all meaning to put somebody on hold?
Nope.
Who's MG?
Eagle Eye Andy. Thanks, Jonathan.
He's from the complimentary review team. I'm not sure why. Maybe he's paused. I think he has himself on.
Okay.
All right, case number 441, requested by W.G. Yates for new signage at 400 South Lamar.
So we're all very familiar with this building. The applicant seeks approval to install new lighted channel lettering on the northeast corner of the building, which is the side elevation that faces Tyler Avenue. So you're looking at it from Tyler now. The entrance to the business, which has been located in the existing building for many years, they're not newly locating there, is from the rear kind of side of the building, which faces Tyler Avenue. This sign is coming before the commission because it's lighted. The Oxford Design Guidelines, it's backlit channel lettering. The Oxford Design Guidelines do not address internally illuminated signage, and channel letters are not a recommended sign type by the guidelines. External lighting is addressed, noting that gooseneck lights are an acceptable option for external lighting. The existing building is listed as non-contributing. The placement of the sign will not cover or overlap any architectural details which are important to the character of the building. Staff considers the size and placement of the proposed signage to be appropriate. The design guidelines recommend simple, straightforward lettering. Additionally, there is an existing sign of the same type on this facade that's lighted for a neighboring business that was approved by the commission in 2019. So that's why staff ultimately recommended approval for this sign. And the applicants are here. If you guys have any questions for them, if you guys want to say anything, or you can wait for a question from the commission, whatever you'd like.
Okay.
Why do we need lighting on the sign?
If y'all want to come, y'all want to come on up to the podium and state name and take that question, please.
My name is Alex Gray.
And I'm Richard Gerner. I'm the manager of the Yates office. I've been there for 21 years. Your question about we need lighting for visibility, and we have people over there working tonight, and sometimes we have visitors, and they always have trouble finding us in that kind of that back alley. We're up on the second floor. We just felt like the sign, having a sign similar to the Raymond James signs being backlit would allow us, give us greater visibility there. We've been there 21 years and haven't had any more than a door sign.
Is that facing north? Mm-hmm. Okay, just make sure I have my bearings right.
Yeah, we're on the second floor. We're set back from the mall quite a bit.
Right. Seems a little bold, just coming down the mall. To me, on a white wall. It's just my personal opinion.
I also have concern about the internally lit. I mean, I know that we've got the Raymond James there. For me, I spent a lot of time thinking why I had concerns about it, trying to put it in words. I think it's the location on the building. It being so tall and glowing 2 stories up is why I have a problem with it.
It almost looks more like advertising than signage.
Yeah.
Well, is it signage a form of advertising in itself at some point?
It's to identify.
It's to identify and advertise.
It is, but it's, we have some guidelines about how big a sign has to be, et cetera, because it is for
Right.
noting what is
and
inside.
I think if Kate will tell you we're within those guidelines.
Right.
And I know there's no language in there about backlighting or internal lighting. Did I not just hear we approved a sign on the other side of the street with the same type lighting, and the Raymond James sign has the same type lighting?
The signage is approved in a different style sign.
Yes, but it's still the same type of lighting.
Right, and somebody said, and it needed to be lit because it's a restaurant which needs to be, noticed at night, which is why I asked, because I didn't think y'all would be working after dark.
People over there right now.
Yeah.
They'll probably be there about 8 o'clock. We're doing a project in Arizona, so they're on a different time zone, and we stay late a lot because of that. And those are our colors, our Yates colors. It's some certain color shade, and that's why we.
Where is your entrance? I see your windows, but
It's, looking at that, it's to the right, further down on Tyler.
You know where you go into the SIP?
Go straight.
And there's the door where you go into Raymond James. Their door is perpendicular to that door.
And
Okay.
you can see from the configuration of the gutters and the downspouts that was really the only spot where we could fit that sign in on that facade there.
Is your intent really to steer those that are trying to find you?
That is some of it, but we've been here 21 years, and we feel like we want to be, we've contributed a lot to the community as it is.
Okay.
Actually, 22 years.
Okay.
So
We wanted a little bit more than just a door sign, which we've had. We wanted to be a little bit more visible. We just got through renovating the interior of the office. We're looking to, we actually added an office. We're looking to add some more people here. It's easy to hire people like you. Easier, put it that way.
and so to sum up my position, and then I'll say no more and let other commissioners talk. And I hear you saying, hey, we just saw y'all approve a lit sign. We have the Raymond James we've approved. For me, it's position on the building. It's 2 stories up.
That also identifies where our office is.
Yes.
We are located on the second floor.
Oh,
Right.
We only have access, that stairwell that's shown is just our access point. Our office is actually on the second floor.
I
So it
understand that.
reinforces that.
Yeah, and my problem isn't with the sign, it's it being lit. The sign there, no problem. It's for me, it's it being lit on the second floor, internally lit. Now, externally lit, gooseneck lighting, that's a different thing. For me, I may not have a problem with that, but it being lit, glowing on the second floor, that's where I have a problem with it.
If you think about it, if you go up and down Lamar, you don't have any lighted signs that high. And I think that's primarily what's catching my eye coming from the courthouse. I want you to have signage.
Yep.
Absolutely, it is advertised.
but, yeah,
But it is a beacon up there on the top of that building.
I think it would look real cool over your door
That's what I was thinking.
on the awning. I
well, the
might
problem
have it
is that
wrong.
awning, you see the struts from the awning, it would obstruct the view of it. We looked at that.
I think she means placing it on the awning.
Placing it on like Bank First
Like
has
that.
theirs.
Don't know.
I mean, you'd have to make, it would only be able to probably say Yates.
But it would be visible from Lamar, which I think is what
Oh,
they're trying to get.
I see. Okay, scratch that.
I understand your concern about being high, but we just wanted something a little more than a flat sign. It's a generic sign. We wanted something with a little more fenestration to it to help the building look.
I understand. It's just that when you have one sign that's lighted in bold blue, that's the only thing you're gonna see coming down there, especially if you're looking up, you know?
Maybe that'll bring us more business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, we want you to have business for sure, and we agree that you have contributed a lot to the community. It seems a little billboardish to me somehow.
Well, that is the style of the Yates logo, and that's what
I just
we'd
mean
have to adhere to.
placement and-
Whether it be a flat blue sign, a big white shiny background and a flat blue sign, or to me, that would even look more billboard.
I just mean the placement, I think.
Yeah.
Let's assume that's not a go. Where would y'all put your sign?
We'd have a door sign. We'd go back to having a door sign and wouldn't be happy about it.
All right.
I understand my happiness doesn't concern you, but
Well, no, I mean, you're a part of the community. We want to try to work with you, and y'all have been good citizens of Oxford.
Yeah.
But, you know, unfortunately, we're tasked with
right.
upholding the ordinance.
So the only thing with the ordinance does not address then is the lighting. The color is fine.
I think this is 100% a lighting issue.
I think so, although I did hear Andy say a little bit about just height. I wanted to try and sum up. There's a lot of discussion about lighting, there's pushback.
About height.
is there an issue with just height, even if it's not lit?
I think I do, but I may be a lone wolf. I think you're gonna absolutely see that, and that is gonna look very billboardish coming down the mall.
What if it was moved all the way down to the other end of the building?
Ma'am, I don't, go ahead, Alex.
We have gutters in the way that would,
Oh.
we can't put it there.
Yeah, gutters and downspouts.
So that kind of limited our location is, again, we're located on the second floor. We wanted to reinforce that. And anywhere located on the first floor is kind of misleading as to where our location is.
I don't see a downspout.
It's cutting at an angle, it's kind of cutting at an angle. There you go.
Oh, I see.
It looked like it was a utility.
I see it.
Okay, well, what about putting it right there and going one under the other? It wouldn't quite be the logo, but it would be like Y-A-T,
Going vertical.
going vertical.
I don't think the company would allow that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to come up with options
Yeah.
for you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I'm sure y'all thought all that through.
So I think I'll kind of say, we're not gonna solve it for you here, but it sounds like the lit sign at least is a no-go. We could, if
Is
you
it the
want,
backlit, or if we propose, what do they call them, gooseneck? Gooseneck?
Would you guys be open to that?
I don't know. You have to think about that.
Yeah. Would there be any stipulations to, like, the lumens that are put out by the sign? Is it specifically the amount of light, or is it just light in general?
for me, it's just it being internally lit. I'll let others speak.
Because I know that issue of light is coming up. I don't know, again, is it the amount of light that's being put out?
The internal lighting is a huge thing for me too. Just.
Do we have something that addresses illuminance? Sure, I just
No, we
butchered
do have
that term.
provisions inside of our ordinance, but it's more for, I don't think that the cabinet style of, the lighting within a cabinet sign would have the impact that, really the ordinance is looking at, which like parking lot lights, the brightness of that, canopy lights associated with like a gas station and stuff like that.
Lot brighter than we
The sign
would
would actually trigger that. We do have in our ordinance lighting provisions to answer the question, yes. I don't think that this particular sign would hit those thresholds.
Okay.
If the commission were open to the channel lettering as designed with gooseneck, I'm not saying that they are, but if they were, is that something you could bring back to discuss with your office and maybe come forward with?
Potentially, sure.
Because that's where typical, that's what's recommended in the guidelines, so.
And it sounds like you'd still have some commissioners that have a problem with just it being up so high, but that, I think that's maybe an easier lift for you all. And so we can hear a motion to table it if you like. Yeah.
Procedurally, it's better for us to table it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
come back with another design. Okay.
We'll just do it.
Another proposal of some sort, it sounds like, that's not internally lit, is I
Okay.
think what.
Well, we appreciate y'all's time.
Yeah, thank you. All right, I'll hear a motion to table it if someone,
So
I
moved.
move that we table.
all right, that's a
Andy
motion and a
does.
second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank y'all, sorry. All right, we are through our actual cases. Now, the complimentary review. Requested by Core 10 Architecture for demolition and new construction located at 412 South 14th Street. So this will be a demolition application and a proposal for new construction.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let them present.
Perfect.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, this is Tyler from Courthouse Architecture. He's here to talk about his project.
Thank you.
So, as you said, my name is Tyler Stevens, Courthouse Architecture, here on behalf of Savoy Properties, who's the client. And we are proposing a new development here that we're all pretty excited about, so we're hoping that you are as well. We're getting good feedback from the community so far. If you just go to the slides.
Looks like someone might join, that's what I.
Oh, okay.
I know there's someone in your office. Michael, do you know him?
Michael Dinkoff. He would be the client.
Oh, great, okay, I just let him know.
That'd be good. I understand this is a complimentary review, not an actual vote. I want to walk through our rationale for the design aesthetic, for the architecture of the building, and then get any feedback from you all before we come, present. One of the things that I like to do is kind of walk around in a town and get a feel for the architecture that's there, pick up on some of the cues that what makes Oxford. So I spent a good deal of time here over the last couple months kind of observing, cataloging, and so I think what we're proposing in our opinion, of course, fits very well. We'll see what you all think. It's right here, the site is there on the corner of Tyler and 14th, and it's that block. The demolition portion, there are two kind of storage metal Quonset huts that are there. That's the demolition part. The other half of the lot is vacant. There's a little bit of nukes. There's a building that's on the site that they use for storage, I believe, is what I've been told. You can see it right there, those tan buildings. So those will be part of the demo as well. So this is the view then from 14th and Tyler looking at the site, just so make sure everybody knows where we are. Go ahead. So in kind of picking up on the cues, of course, a good place to start is with the courthouse. The architecture here in Oxford, as I see it, is kind of simple in terms of blocky forms, masonry boxes, I would call them, with the courthouse, you have a really nice proportion of these tall, skinny windows. So the proportion is very narrow and slim, makes the building look a little taller. Go ahead to the next. The rest of the town, however, you take those masonry boxes that I was describing and then add elements onto them, mostly porches. This is very much a porch-centric kind of community, and that's part of the life of what's here, but it also lends to the aesthetic of the buildings. The thing I will point out on these porches that's different maybe than other places you see is the proportions of the columns and the railing are very slender. They almost look delicate. You know, we're not talking about, like the courthouse has big, massive columns. That's more of a kind of a traditional Federalist or a colonial style. These porches, most of them are metal, some of them are wood, but they maintain a very delicate kind of nature. So that's one thing about it. The railing as well, it practically disappears, that kind of dark painted metal. So what you have is a very light, lacy element on this heavy masonry mass behind. Go ahead. So I started cataloging then different types of porches, what was going on here, and these are just some that are right around the square that I'm sure you all know. One thing I noted is that there's a lot of the double columns. If you notice this one on the top right there, those columns they're thin, like I said, but they're doubled. So that's one thing. You see that on the left as well. The other element that I've noticed is corners. And the two on the bottom, the corners are cut, and there's actually no column on the corner. So typically, when you come together, you'd have a column there on the corner, it defines it. These kind of pull back, and the corner is something special or different. So other elements we wanted to pick up on. The site plan, as we have it here and shown, the building covers most of the site, and what we're doing is we're picking up a theme of courtyards. So in the plan itself, you see this repeated theme of courtyards. The building is a big donut shape, hugging to the exterior of the site, so that it defines the street and creates a nice streetscape that plays along with the rest of the buildings around it. Inside, however, we are carving out this is not a public courtyard, it's kind of a semi-public in that it's open to all the units of the building, a place for people to come and gather in a park-like setting in the middle of the building. There are a couple units that face the inside. You see all the white squares around the perimeter, those are all terraces. So this courtyard theme carries from the exterior of the building even into the units themselves, where the units are kind of wrapped around an interior courtyard, which is the terrace. This is the first floor plan. So again, going on this theme of carving out of that mass, I took the initial mass and started carving courtyards out of it. On the first floor, because the streets are pretty narrow down here, Tyler and 14th are not very wide streets at all. And the sidewalks on them are extremely narrow. I think they're they're not more than 5 feet, but from the property line to the curb. So because we're a corner building and we want to create retail and have a good presence on the street there, we are taking that corner and again carving out on the first floor to create an arcade. And an arcade, it works similarly to the porches around the square. Those are kind of like an arcade, but they're porches. This will give a similar kind of feel without having all the columns out on the outside that kind of hamper circulation, because we want to create a good walking environment. As you go to the, let's see, I guess I'd be the west, along Tyler, the hill, there's a pretty steep hill, and the building, as you go in there, kind of will dig into the hill. So that's why the arcade stops at our entry, because at that point, from there westward, the building starts, the first floor is buried. It starts going underground. So the arcade would stop, and you'd move out to the regular sidewalk and transition right at the entrance. The entrance there in the middle is yet another courtyard. It's a little tiny entrance courtyard with a little gate in front of it. The lobbies are on either side. So it continues that theme throughout and creates kind of a nice streetscape there. Go ahead. This is just giving you an example of a typical unit plan and how that courtyard theme picks up in a terrace. Then that terrace will then be part of the language of the outside of the building, which you see here. I've been calling these baskets because it kind of feels like a lacy basket on the outsides of the building. So the tan portion that you see there is a masonry mass, pretty solid, with tall, skinny window proportions, recalling the proportions of the courthouse. Then the terraces are very lacy metal porch elements. You see the columns. Notice how on the corner, we don't put a column right on the corner. Instead, we do a double that splits the corner and keeps it open. That's picking up on those themes that I was talking about earlier. The railing itself is a very delicate, lacy metal rail that this building, I didn't say in the beginning, we're calling it the Magnolia. That was something that was come up in terms of the marketing team. We're picking up on that in these railings with a perforated metal rail that has their circles carved into it, but when you look at it back, the pattern is a magnolia tree. So that pattern just kind of repeats, and it doesn't show up very well in the rendering here, but trust me, it'll be it'll look like a magnolia tree. But repeating around and creating that very lacy, delicate rhythm of not only just the porch itself, but then there's a bay of windows next to it that follow that same rhythm. You can see down below the arcade on the first floor where the retail is, you get a colonnade that actually we take the metal roofs of the porches, which are pretty typical. You'd have these porches hanging off with a metal roof on it. We take that idea and flip it upside down. So instead you have this kind of domed ceiling, or arch, reaching out that's in metal, coming out and creating a canopy around the bottom of the building, which sets off the retail, makes it very nice, widens that sidewalk so you have a place to walk, and then lets the porches in the building actually kind of hang out close to the street then above it. So that's the design aesthetic. We'll go ahead and you can see some other views. Here's the entry along Tyler where the little courtyard is. And you can see here that, imagine a nice wrought iron gate with a little fountain behind it, landscaping around it, the two lobbies on either side. So that's a little entrance. You can just see a diagonal line behind it. That's a staircase, kind of a masonry stair in the background that leads you up to the big courtyard in the back. And then this stack of balcony terraces on either side.
Will you take the Quonset hut out and basically you're going to build as far west as the back of the buildings that face the mall?
That's correct. It's kind of an alley behind them.
Right.
That will still be there. So the property line starts just on the other side of that alley.
Okay, I was just trying to get a visual how big this thing is.
Yeah, it fits into the block actually. When you walk around it, because it's built into that hill and it's an alley back there, and then on the south side it's Sonic. The back of the Sonic parking lot has a big retaining wall along it, so we'll have a little bit of a strip of green between the retaining wall and the building, and then down around to the back of Nukes and out to 14th. So I think it nestles into the block pretty well.
Do you have some aerial 3Ds?
I don't have 3D aerials, no. Would that be helpful?
I think that'd be helpful.
Okay.
For people to see it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in terms of getting the
I would like to
mass.
see kind of how it relates to the powerhouse more than just that's the Nuke side.
Okay. Yeah, certainly. If you go, is there another one after that? Yes, so this is the elevations. But what, this is my fault, because I tell the team always when you do elevations, make sure you draw the buildings on either side. So we get a context of scale, and we didn't do that here, so I'll definitely make sure that's added in. But the part you're talking about on that lower elevation, you see the ground sloping up. That's the hill of Tyler going up towards Lamar. And that last edge of the building is 3 stories there, which is right then across from the alley and behind the buildings on Lamar, which I think are 2. I think they're just 2-story, can't really. But they're up the hill even more then. So it's all in line in terms of a general height. Now where it will look different is across 14th on the south side, because that is a big parking lot where the water tower is and that park there. But those are all set up way up on top of the hill, so it's a little different as well.
Yeah, I think that the powerhouse was mentioned. That's we've got I'm sure you've seen a proposal now for an addition to that. So that would be an important building for us to see in context, even if y'all could do some basic modeling of it. I think that would help.
I have not seen the design of the addition.
Well, not the addition, just the addition is going to be far enough away that I think we can envision it, but of the existing,
Okay. What about if we take this and do a site section that crosses, puts the retaining wall in, the parking lot, and then the building? Because it's so far away that I think even in a 3D aerial, you're not going to really see it.
Yeah, maybe so.
Context.
Yeah, I guess I would just say any sort of context you can show.
You're right.
I mean, that building, that addition to the powerhouse is not going to be killing far from the east side of that building at all.
That's true.
You'd be able to throw a rock to it.
So the addition is to the north then?
It runs north-south.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not seen the plans. I heard that there was one, but I haven't seen the plans.
Lines look similar.
Yeah, it's a good looking design, I think, the addition, so yeah, y'all should check it out.
Good. Okay, great. I think that was the last slide, right?
It is.
Okay.
I can go back to it if you'd like.
So this is gonna get behind.
Go back to the street view maybe on 14th and Tyler. That first, yeah, that one.
Essentially.
There's an alley that runs behind all those buildings that face the mall. From there all the way down to 14th.
Right.
It's a big building.
Yeah.
Starting across the street from Harrison's outdoor yard and then running up the hill.
Right.
All right, any discussion or questions among commissioners?
How many shops are you having downstairs?
Well, it's a little over 5,000 square feet, so it's laid out such that you could have 3 around the corner. It would cut easily that way. More than 3 would be hard, and they would be kind of small anyway. Or it could just be 1. It all depends on who's going to come in.
Will you be designing infrastructure in the building for a potential restaurant? Just out of curiosity?
As I said, the leasing for the space has not been done yet. It's not intended to go after a restaurant.
Okay.
Down on that corner, I don't know if it's...
Not that it's really our business, I was just curious.
Yeah.
We just want one, that's all.
Well, that's what I'm trying to gauge. Would a restaurant be good or bad?
He's trying to tell you retail off the square is hard.
Yeah, well,
Exactly.
that's
what he's trying to tell you.
I honestly think, my opinion, it should be an Apple store. That's what should go there. But I don't know that an Apple store would
We're
come
about
into
300,000 residents short for that, I think.
We would like a Target downstairs.
a Target,
Even a
yes.
small
Put an
one.
Apple store in there. You could probably get me to approve anything from this commission.
That's what, I mean, just look at it. It looks like it should be an Apple store.
Giving away free beer on the square.
All right, discussion on aesthetics. I mean, any specific feedback, any specific feedback you want on aesthetics?
Well, I gave you a good rundown of what I think the architecture of Oxford is and how we tried to incorporate that. I'd like to know if you think I've missed the mark or hit it on,
You said box. You used the word box.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't see us as a bunch of boxes.
Oh, yeah?
No.
Go back to those porches.
I see those porches. I see those, but you're talking just about, are you talking about the square?
Yeah, so these buildings are, there really are boxes. And I don't mean box as a derogatory thing. It's a simple form, a simple mass of rectilinear walls and a flat roof. You don't see spires or turrets, and you don't see actually complex geometry other than the building we're in.
I thought you were talking about the entire Oxford.
Oh, no.
The entire Oxford is not boxy.
No. In fact, I mentioned the courtyard theme. Really, the square, the first time I came here, I was like, the square is a giant courtyard. That's really what it is. The buildings hug it very well defined, and the courthouse in the middle is it's like a sculpture jewel in the middle of a courtyard park. That's really how it reads.
Only comment I'd have is look at the railings on those buildings and compare that to what you propose.
Yes, the white one, I would, as opposed to the white ones, the ironwork, metalwork is somewhat lacy, in some of those. They've got some decorative kind of, the pictures don't really show them up that well. Not the white ones are very spindly pickets. So I'm not talking about that so much, but that delicate lace work of the iron railing is what we can convey.
They're very simple.
Mm-hmm.
That gets very busy real quick.
Okay.
Just a point.
Okay.
And you said it would look like a tree or like the flower from the tree?
Oh, the tree. It's the canopy, stem. It's actually our. Yeah, you can't see it in here.
Maybe you could do a detail of that.
A close-up of that would be good. Mm-hmm. What I'd love to do is bring you one made, a panel, but I don't know that we can get a custom-made sample.
Yeah, along these lines, I was going to just sort of run down, you would hate for your actual application to be stymied by us not understanding materials. Mm-hmm. So do your best, and it's sort of on you, but do your best to get, you know the drill, get a material sheet or two that shows every single material on the building, that, explains what it is. I don't know that samples are really necessary unless there's something really unique, but, really make sure that you're not going to be held up by us saying, well, I don't really understand what the roof of that overhang is going to be like. Mm-hmm. We really, because we're your architectural review board, we don't have an ARB or anything like that. We're it. You need to show as much detail as you can on materials and all that. So, like the balcony railing, blow that up, show what that looks like. What color brick are you proposing? What is that truly an off color banding in the brick that you're proposing? What color windows? What material windows? All that. Try to get as much information into your application as you can.
I typically always bring a brick sample board, metal chip with colors on it, that kind of stuff.
That'd be great. Yeah. And so since there wasn't a whole lot of discussion on aesthetics, I personally, I think it looks good. I think it's a nice design. I think that it's a building of its time, but you've got some homage to historicism and to the square. Proportions feel good to me. I'm a fan of it. I like it personally.
Thank you.
I want to see more detail, I like it. Mm-hmm. Anyone else on aesthetics? We want to try and give them as much feedback as we can. If there's something that you're sort of going, oh, that's ugly, let them know.
My thoughts are pretty much along the exact same lines. I think it's generally a pretty nice looking building from what we see here.
I agree. I only wonder how it compares mass-wise, especially to the powerhouse and the powerhouse to be.
Yes. And this is real close to High Cotton, right there on the corner, and that whole corner with, what is it, High Cotton and the Ice House, and the third one that I always forget. Harrison, thank you. those three all kind of form that little corner, and we're just south of that. And they sit way up on the hill, and they're quite a bit taller too, because as I understand it, those were built like before your regulations were shortened. So we're under this 3-story shortened thing, so when I show massing of that, I think that'll be very clear. You'll see that.
All right, any other discussion? You feel like you've got some feedback from us? Anything else you want to hear?
Yeah, tell us what you want us to say.
Well, I mean, I know what I'm used to hearing. I mean, things like different things. For instance, I didn't mention, but brick color, that's always a subjective. We studied brick color a lot, and we had a lot of disagreements amongst our own design team, honestly. What we've ended up with here goes back to the powerhouse, which is, it's stone, but it's a kind of a creamy yellow and orange stone, and we've got a brick in the office that I think matches it exactly, and that was really the goal. So that it doesn't, renderings never quite show things like real stuff. But that with this kind of olive green trim color, it's just looks really stand out. But if you guys say, oh, we hate yellow brick or something like that, I don't know. Those are the things that, but yes, our design aesthetic for our firm is not one thing. We're not a firm that every building looks like our same thing. We're very much about designing buildings that blend into the community, but at the same time, they're always modern. I'm not gonna build a building that looks like it was built in 1890, because that's just not honest. So they are definitely modern with historic overtones. This is always our goal, which I think, and that's part of your answering your question, I think is what a historic board generally wants. You don't want replica history, and you don't want something that's avant-garde that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what I see in this, and what I did see on your website, that y'all fit buildings to the places that they're in. I appreciate that.
That's what the guidelines recommend.
That's it.
What's the total footprint of it? Like 40,000 square feet or so?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
We have a total square footage of all buildings, is that what you're?
The foot
of what
the
this will
footprint.
occupy.
It's within the 2.5 FAR. I'll say that. It's under that.
2.49.
It's 2.49. Yes, that is correct.
That definitely tracks.
What's it say?
Yeah,
What's the acreage
it's on
of the site?
Well, it's right here.
Parcels stitched together.
Is it 3 parcels?
0.86, so about 40,000,
That doesn't make
38,000 square foot.
38,000?
He said 0.8, so 43,560 of an acre. So
It says 97,000 square feet total building area.
divided by 3 roughly.
Yeah.
So,
So the building garage.
max it out.
We didn't even talk about removal of those pretty little tan buildings.
Yeah, is there any discussion on?
I included the surveys for you guys. You can see that.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I don't think any commissioners will have a hard time with that.
They are really, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Contributing.
I will say, I understand what you're saying in terms of big building. It is a large building. If you go to the site plan, just real quick, one thing that we wanted to do that we wanted to feel almost like 2 buildings above the garage, and that's why that entrance is a split all the way in there to the courtyard, so that on Tyler, it actually is 2 buildings next door to each other that happen to be connected on a base. And they're roughly a square proportion, which is the same length as what you see on 14th. So when you look at that corner, what you're really looking at is a square, and then there's another one that's a square behind it. The only vantage point where you can see the entire length of the building is behind Sonic. So you have Sonic and whatever is next to that. Oh, I guess it's Nukes, yeah. In front, and then this will be behind both of them. But that's the only spot where you see the whole length.
I mean, I personally don't have a problem with the size. I think that if there are lots on the edge of the square or on the square that something like this is appropriate, this is it. You know, I feel like High Cotton is, you know, Harrison Square is, this lot is. I feel like this is an appropriate spot for a large building like this on the periphery of the square.
I would tend to agree. If you're gonna put something this big, it needs to be out there.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, sounds like we're wrapping up.
No, I appreciate all your input.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
you have a basketball game to get to.
We do. Yes, we do. It's funny. Maybe you can attend since you're in town. All right, any other discussion?
I just have one question for the mechanics, Tyler. So he mentioned a sample board of the different bricks, maybe the metals and things like that. Would it, as opposed to waiting until the actual meeting, would it be helpful if you were able to provide us with some sort of like an image of that we can provide them so that way they can be thinking about it? And then in person you'll have it here, so that way you at least have an idea of what that might look like, and so then you have it in person. Does that help? Would it help y'all? Do you not care?
I don't feel like I would need it, but others?
You mean you're just trying to speed it along?
No, I'm just trying to give you enough information so that way if it's something that is less desirable, then we can at least have that information on the front.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I can take a picture of the brick sample.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, I just like it, just because I like to look at that stuff.
Yeah. Send it
It's
on.
really your choice, but I just like that stuff.
I will for sure give feedback.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, sounds like we're good. I will hear a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
It was me, I seconded it.
I got you.